It almost seemed like he was playing it up for the camera. Ooh, that's got a sting. Rewind. Now we got some juicy deets this week. Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today is Thursday, and that means today is my Get Ready With Me and TV episode. If you're new here, this is a series where I come and sit down, I get ready, and I talk about The Bachelorette. So basically every week, Bachelorette comes on Mondays, and every Thursday I will be posting my review of the episode, my opinions of what happened. We dive deep into the drama, discuss what happened, and I also give my predictions of what's to come in the next episode and also in the following episodes of the season. I also post every Monday and Saturday. Mondays I do typical reviews, product recommendations, dupes, videos, challenges, hauls, tutorials, tips, tricks. And on Saturdays I do all of that, but in 5 minutes or less for those of you that like the quick to the point videos. So if you're interested in any of that, I do encourage you to hit subscribe button and join me over here. I thank each and every one of you that do. So without further ado, let's get started with today's episode. Number one, I want to put out that it is a spoiler alert. I will be discussing what happened in last week's episode, also what happened in this week's episode. If you're new or if you missed last week, or if you just let me just remind you, every week I'm going to use something within the episode to inspire my look. Last week's look was a red eye with graphic gold liner, and it was actually inspired by Katie's dress. I did give a little hint. So last week we met all the men. She seemed to really have an interest in quite a few of them. This week is a lot more in depth and dramatic. You learn a lot more about the men and a lot more about her, Katie. So this week we find out that there's going to be 2 group dates and a one-on-one. So Katie was a busy girl. This resort is beautiful. Like the guys, they show a little bit of like where they're staying. It's absolutely stunning. I do have to say, Tasha and Kaitlyn are hilarious, and I honestly think, at least for The Bachelorette, I honestly think that this is like almost better than Chris Harrison in a way. Like I love Chris Harrison. He's so funny, and it's like he's kind of lame, which is kind of the whole point of it. But like if I were The Bachelorette, I'd rather 2 young girls who it seems like they know each other, and if they didn't know each other before, they've seemed to be getting along really well. Could discuss the guys with them. They've been through the experience before. Carl, I called it last week. I said he had a lot of screen time. Did I not say that? Rewind. Now he had a lot of screen time in this episode. He stood out a lot, like he had lots to say. I remember saying that he had a lot of screen time because he just like always had opinions about everything that was happening night one. And at first I thought maybe he was like a leader. Maybe this is a good thing, right? No. It is not a good thing. I feel like they do kind of probably edit it in a way that tells a story. So I'm sure that not everything is as it seems, but he said those things, you know? So there's a lot of stuff he said this episode. I was like, I don't like you. I will be honest. I don't know him as a person, but my opinions about him are solely what's happened on the show. He just seems way different now. He was like so aggressive. He just was like over the top about it. It almost seemed like he was playing it up for the camera. Even somebody made a comment like, you know, my opinion of Carl night 1 was that he can talk. He said, my opinion has most definitely not changed. First date card arrives, and this is for the first group date. So the guys that are going on the first group date are Christian, Garrett, Trey, Courtney, Mike, P, James, Justin, Thomas, Connor B, and Carl. So there's 10 men. Imagine going on a date with 10 men. When they walk in, there is a stage, and it's all like set up to make it kind of like seem like a sexual scene. So there's a bed, there's rose petals, there's a bra on the floor, I'm sorry, Mom. I know my mom is watching. She watches all my videos. And I definitely don't talk about this kind of stuff around her, so I'm sorry, Mom, but it's just what happened on the show, okay? It's not me. But there's a dildo. In comes Heather McDonald, who is a well-known comedian. She does sexual trivia with them. So she's asking them these questions. I didn't even know the answers to a lot of these questions, like asking about sexual organs, and like a lot of it was like anatomy, and not a lot of the men did very well. A lot of the questions were hard and like weird, things that I would have, like, I don't think a lot of people would have known. Like one of them was, what article of clothing increases a woman's chance of orgasm? And it's socks. And a guy guessed it. So then after they do this trivia, they have to put on a presentation in front of not only Katie, Tasha, Kaitlyn, Heather McDonald, also the other men that they are on this group date with, but also in front of a live audience, they call it, which is the men that didn't go on the group date. So in front of basically everybody, they have to put on this presentation that explains to Katie why they're the greatest lover. And the whole date is based off of sex. So clearly, you know, with the whole setup of the scene, they're supposed to put on a show of why, you know what I mean? It's set up for a lot of sexual innuendos, and I'm sure you can get what I'm saying. So number one, I just wanted to put out there, I felt so bad for Mike. So I did quickly point out that a virgin on the show, I actually grew up in a Christian home. That's just my personal faith. And so with being raised that way and taught, you know, basically the same thing, I totally get it, and no judgment there. I think a lot of the times when people like that are on the show, it's kind of funny, but I really felt bad for him because that would be so nerve-wracking. You've never had sex. He was 31 years old, which to a lot of people in this day and age, people would judge him for that. You're going on national television and revealing that. And then you have first date, you have to answer all these sex questions. Like one of the questions from the trivia was, when's the last time you had sex? Like, so he's just supposed to reveal in front of everybody. I guess that's what he signed up for. But I did feel bad for him. I think he went about it in the best way possible. So anyways, I'm going to go through what everybody did because it's actually so funny. But then Carl is going on, and somebody did make the comment that Carl keeps referring to this as a game. I personally don't think that he is there for the right reasons. Definitely showed his true colors. It just seemed like he cares more about winning the Bachelorette or being on camera than actually like being there for Katie. That's my personal opinion. Connor B, the cat guy, is no longer a cat guy. So I guess I'll call him Connor B now. But he goes on and he brings up a piano and a guitar and he sings her a song, and he's actually a pretty good singer. And it was so funny and like so cute, and there were some sexual innuendos in there. So it was like, for somebody like Katie, who is very sex positive and open about that, it was, I think, perfect. Like, it wasn't raunchy, but it was funny and it was cute. So I really like him. He's one of my favorites so far. Christian. And at first I didn't really get what he was saying. Like, I thought he was trying to be like a comedian and make a joke, but he was actually like pretending he was talking to her in like they were at home. Like if she were to just come home from work or something. He's like, yeah, you know, I cleaned the house and I emptied the kitty litter because she likes cats. Good on him, because the key to a woman's heart is clean the house, man. Like you know how to impress a woman. Then he, of course, has to have some sort of sexual element in there. And then he like says, you know, we have 2 hours till dinner, and like rips his pants off. Now he has underwear on, but I'm like, oh my goodness, you are brave. Then Trey is one of my favorites as well. He's just so funny. He has puppets and he like puts on like a sexual scene with the puppets. So it's like sexual, but it's not like raunchy because it's kind of funny with the puppets. I actually really thought that was funny. Courtney, all they showed was he said, I can relate to this carrot, and he holds up a carrot and it's quite long, so if you can get what I mean. And then Justin gives her a foot massage, which, you know what, I actually really like Justin. He wasn't one of my favorites night one, but I do think that he is really nice. Thomas, Thomas is one of my favorites, but all he says is, you won't be needing this anymore, and he holds up the dildo. James, I actually thought this was so funny. He was standing there in his underwear, and then he had a box on his underwear, so like it was pretending that his privates were in a box. And the reason I found it funny was because night one, he came in a box. I don't know, I have a stupid sense of humor. I thought it was so funny. And then Carl comes on and just makes a fool of himself. I'm like, what did he even do? I don't know. He just like wouldn't shut up. The guys were telling him to get off stage. They're like, they cut him off. They're like, no, you're done. They started clapping. He like went on forever. He was trying to like show what a woman needed, and like I didn't even, obviously we didn't hear a lot of it because it like just kind of showed him being stupid, but I don't know, it was just weird. Then comes in Mike. So he sits her on the bed and he reads her a letter, and it starts with, "To my future wife," and immediately I was like, oh my goodness, I love him. He says he wants her to feel honored, and that's why he's saving, like he's not talking to Katie, he's talking to his future wife, but you know, potentially could be Katie. So he says, you know, that's why I'm saving myself for you, his future wife. I would wait another 31 years if it meant you would feel secure and loved. And it's like, wow, that's a man, you know what I mean? Like not coming on and referring to your penis size, but really just respecting a woman and wanting that to be special for them. I just think it's so sweet. She cried. It was just a very respectful thing. And he got the greatest lover ever. Like the virgin on the show got greatest lover ever. And I thought that was so cool. I thought it was so cute. I think he definitely deserved it. And I was so nervous for him. That would be embarrassing, you know? A lot of men today that they don't save themselves, a lot of just people in general don't save themselves for marriage, which is fine too. Like I'm not judging anybody for whatever they choose, but I'm just saying a lot of people don't in this day and age. And so as somebody who chooses that for them, you know, you might be a little bit nervous of being, you know, made fun of or judged. And so I think he was brave. Then Carl's going on about like winning. He's like, yeah, that was just the first part of the night. I still have a chance of the, you know, the end game. I can win the, you know, the prize, and talking about winning the group date rose. And I'm like, you know what? People that talk about getting the rose, yeah, you can say like, I really hope that our connection is, you know, strong and, you know, maybe I'll get the rose. That's fine. But if you're sitting there saying, you know, I want to win that rose, I don't think you're there for the right reasons. Like choose your words wisely, because you seem like you're there to like, it's not a game show. I just don't like Carl. The night of the group date, Connor seems so sweet. This is Cat Guy. He just seems so sweet. He wanted to redo his date. He's like, yeah, I kind of want to redo our first date because I just realized, like I was thinking about it and I realized I was kissing you and like holding your head and I had a cat paw on. And he's very funny but serious at the same time. So back at the house, they get a date card. So this is for the one-on-one. And Greg gets the one-on-one. So he gets the first impression rose and the one-on-one. I think these men have to look out for Greg. He's one of my favorites. Okay, wait, let me just do my brows quick. So we're back at the group date, and Thomas, who is one of my favorites, he really just actually, in my opinion, seems like one of the most mature of the men. He seems very confident yet not cocky and quite genuine. She seems very into him as well. She does kiss him. It gets like kind of heated. Like it seems like they were both very into the kiss. They both seem very interested in each other. So she ends up giving him the group date rose, and Carl is like so pissed, and he's like, yeah, I gotta turn this around and I gotta like fix this before cocktail night. So at first I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? But oh wait, we find out what he's talking about. One-on-one time. Katie comes and picks Greg up in a red pickup truck and they go fishing. So on the way, she was kind of talking about how she loves the outdoors and it's something she did with her dad all the time. He took her camping all the time. And Greg made a comment about how he used to fish with his dad all the time. And she ends up, the date is that they're going fishing and they pitch a tent. But they just seem very comfortable with one another, like already, which is so great. The biggest reason why she chose to take Greg on the fishing date is because her dad actually passed away in 2012, so almost 10 years ago, and she seemed quite emotional about it, which who wouldn't be? She seems quite just all in, like she just really wants to dive deep, and like week one she was talking about that, and like that's brave of her, so I give her credit for that for sure. She ends up telling Greg that that's why, you know, and it is a little bit awkward at first, but it seems like they had a great date. They fished together, and they just almost looked like they were already dating, like they already knew each other. Back at the house, the date card comes for the group date, the second group date. John, Andrew S, Kyle, Josh, Aaron, Brendan, Hunter, and Cody get on the date. So Michael doesn't get a date. So at first I'm like, ooh, that's gotta sting. Back at Greg and Katie's date, they have the evening portion of their date, their dinner part. And Katie kind of mentions how, you know, it was really difficult for her to enjoy the date, not because of him, but because, you know, it reminded her of her dad, and, you know, it never gets easier to remember him, and because she misses him. Greg had mentioned a couple times how he, you know, understands her more than she thinks. Then he tells her that his dad died as well 2 years ago. He said, one day I'm going to the Knicks game with him. The next day I find out has a month to live because he has stage 4 cancer. And like, my heart just breaks for anybody who has lost a parent. I just can't imagine losing them, and I really do feel for anybody who has. He got quite emotional about it. He was crying, which, like, rightfully so. I think it's just showed that he feels comfortable with her as well, and he opened up. She seems to like really like him. He seems to really like her, and it's really cute. Like, I really do. He is definitely one of my favorite. As of week one, I think Greg will win because she just seems to really connect with him. They clearly have a lot in common, and they both are like sarcastic and funny, but they can have serious conversations. So yeah, I really, really like him. They share a kiss, and she says, am I falling for him? It feels like it, she says. So like, it's week one and she already feels like she's falling for him, like slightly. I'm sure, like, not like, oh, I love him, but you know what I mean? I think that he's definitely the one to watch out for sure. And literal fireworks go off. When shows have fireworks, do you not realize how many fireworks that must be? Like, every time I've ever like been to fireworks or set off fireworks, it's like one little firework, pew, pew. And this is like probably 100 fireworks going off at a time. It would actually be insane. I would love to go to a fireworks show that's actually like a legit one. That would be incredible, I think. Group date 2. And Tasha and Kaitlyn are so hilarious. Like I said, I really think they're doing a great job, and they're so funny. They go in dressed as cowgirls with their cowbells, and they go and wake up all the guys. They all are waking up. They're in their underwear, and they're like, no shirts. You're not allowed to grab anything. So half these guys are walking out in their underwear, and they walk out, and Katie is sitting there also dressed up as a little cowgirl. She has them mud wrestle. That is their group date. They have to mud wrestle. So they're paired into 2. They've like been set up for partners, and they just have to wrestle. And then one of them is granted Katie's golden cowboy or something like that. So they get like a cowboy belt. And the winner gets special time with Katie, which obviously, like, that's the goal for all of them. So they get in pairs, and first up is Brendan and Hunter. Brendan wins. Brendan is like a much bigger guy, and Hunter seemed like so scared. Andrew S, who is one of my faves. He's funny, he's sweet, against Kyle was so nervous. He's like a little bit like, you can tell he's not very athletic, and Andrew is a football player, so he was like scared. Obviously Andrew wins. And then Josh versus John. John is quite a bit smaller than Josh. He was terrified. John, he was like, let's just get this over with. And Josh pins him down quite a few times, but John in the end actually gets Josh down once, so it was a tie. Aaron versus Cody was the last one. And it's funny because if you remember night 1, who had a little bit of an altercation? Those two. Aaron remember he was the one that went up to Cody and was like, I don't like you, man. I've never liked you. I don't like Aaron as of night 1. I was like, you don't even know this guy, but we got some juicy deets this week. Right from the get-go, when they're announced that they're the ones going against each other, it's like tension immediately. And like even Katie notices it. It's like super intense. Like the other guys, they kind of would like knock each other down and be like, hey man, like, you know what I mean? Like they're just doing a game. But these two were like fighting to the death. Not quite that intense, but they definitely were taking it a little bit more seriously. And Aaron ends up winning. I mean, he is a bigger guy and he does look a little bit more athletic. Katie actually chooses him as the winner, which she explains it as he had the most heart, which he definitely fought the most like intensely. But I personally think she chose him because she wanted to know what was going on with those two. So because he got the extra time and everybody else goes home and gets ready for the evening portion of the date. She's like, yes, so I noticed tension. And what was that? Like she was straight up. And I do like that about her. She's very straight up. And he basically tells her they do know each other back from San Diego. So I called it. Did I not call it? Aaron says that, you know, they've never been friends. He's never really liked him. And he did have some concerns about his intentions on the show. So he said there were some social media posts that kind of gave the impression he was coming on to become famous, that he seemed malicious with a lot of the things he's done, his actions. And obviously this puts doubt in Katie's mind. She's a little bit concerned. So evening portion of the date comes, Katie walks in guns blazing and basically just, you know, hey guys, found some stuff out today. And with that being said, Cody, let's go talk. And basically confronts him, says, I've heard some stuff. I talked to Aaron. I have some concerns. He said you can be unkind, malicious, that you're here to be famous. And he like doesn't even really say much. I personally think that Aaron wasn't lying. And actually after this whole situation, I think it explains his actions a lot more. And I actually do think he's a lot more mature than I thought. And the way Cody responded, I don't think Aaron was lying. Like he didn't even really defend himself. All he said was, I'd like to know what he's referring to. If that was me, who somebody said something about, and it was a lie, I would be like, oh my goodness, that's not true at all. Let's pull him in. I have nothing to hide. Then he says something like, oh, it sounds like it's just like it might be exaggerations. That means that is something that has happened and it's been blown out of proportion. So what is this something that happened? And she says that. So then what's been exaggerated? And he's like, well, I don't know what he's talking about. So then what do you mean something's been exaggerated? He just didn't do well at covering his tracks. Cody goes and pulls Aaron in and says, why would you do that? You know, I know we've never liked each other. And then Aaron says, you know, I felt like it was my responsibility to tell her the truth. All Cody says is, well, how would anybody ever know we know each other if you kept your mouth shut? That sounds like a guilty person. Katie ends up pulling Cody again because she's like, in her interview, she's like, that's my biggest fear, is somebody being here that shouldn't be. She basically says, I don't trust you now. And for it to be that early on, to not trust you, there's no point. We're not going to waste each other's time. I think it's best you go home. And all he says is, okay. Like, if I didn't do anything wrong, I'd be like, you know, I'm really sorry, this is a misunderstanding, but like, I don't want this to ruin the chance for us to get to know each other. Like, let me, you know, prove to you that I'm really not that person. You know what I mean? Like, you'd at least try, but he just says, okay, got your 10 minutes of fame and now you're good. Okay. So, and I didn't like him night one. He was the blow up doll guy. I just thought he was immature. I thought he was trying to like make a scene and like be the funniest one. So, and it really makes you understand why Aaron was acting that way night one for sure. So she goes in and explains that she sent him home and she says, you know, I just need a minute to myself. Obviously it makes her emotional. I think not because she really liked Cody, but more because it's scary to think somebody was there not for her. Andrew S., which is one of my faves, he was kind of the one that was like annoyed by the situation. Also, I think he was just more concerned about Katie, which is cute. So he actually goes to check on her. Like, I want to be the first to come check on you. Are you okay? I want to reiterate, like, I am here for you. Like, he shares that he grew up with a single mom and they were poor and blah, blah, blah. Like his hardships as a child. She also grew up poor as well. So it was actually something they could relate through. They had, like they bonded through their similar childhood experiences. Andrew kisses Katie as well. Then she talks to people like Josh. He actually shared with her that he used to be like overweight, borderline obese. He most definitely is not anymore. Like they took their shirts off for the mud wrestling and he was one of the most like ripped out of all of them. There's more to him than you see. I definitely wouldn't have guessed that he was overweight. That shocked me. Hunter writes her a letter. So she ends up giving the group date rose to Andrew S. And I think that's because they definitely connected more and she could relate with him more. So that was a big moment in their relationship. So then comes cocktail party. We have Mr. Carl, who, remember he said, I have to turn things around. I have to fix this. He makes a comment with the guys after the whole Cody situation. Doesn't that make you like wonder if there's other people that aren't here for the right reasons? And it kind of like catches the guys off guard. Like, do you have concerns? Who are these guys? And he's like, no, like it just makes me wonder. Like, okay. And she basically tells them, you know, I sent Cody home. She explains what happened. And she basically says like, I'm a safe place. If there's ever a concern, I want to know. You can come to me. You can talk to me about what's happening in the house. She pulls Michael first because Michael, remember, was the only one to not get a date. And at first I'm like, oh my goodness, is she going to like end things with him? But she seemed to be kind of into him first night. So I was surprised, but she actually pulls him to say, you know, I'm sorry you didn't get a date, but the reason you didn't is because, you know, I felt like we had a good connection night one and I didn't really feel like we needed the validation. Then comes Mr. Carl. Mr. Carl. He goes and shares his concerns with Katie. Basically says a very similar thing to what he said to the guys, that, you know, the whole Cody situation makes him feel like, you know, made him kind of think, are all the guys there for the right reasons? And he was doing, I don't know, like the way he said it, it just seemed like he was stirring the pot in a way. I think he was insecure about his relationship with her. I think he just wants to be on the show for the show. I personally think that Carl was on it for fame, maybe not for fame, but just to be on TV. I just don't personally think, and even if he is there for her, I think he just views it as a game. And she's like, kind of like, whoa, like I thought we already dealt with these issues. Now I have to deal with this again. And he basically says that not only is he concerned, is there people, he basically says that he has noticed that there are people that are concerning and that there's multiple people. So she's like, okay, can you give me an example? She's like, you don't have to give me a name. Can you just give me an example of to what's happened? And he's like super vague about it. And he's like, yeah, well, like you just seem so stressed out from the whole Cody situation. I don't want to stress you out more, like blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, I get, like, she's so straight up. And I really respect that about her. She's like, I get it. But like, basically I need to know. You're not going to come and tell me, like, why would you bring it up then? Because you've already stressed me out. So, like, just tell me. He's like, well, like, I don't want to put anybody on blast when I'm not 100%. Like, he's avoiding answering the question. And I personally think he said it because he was concerned with his relationship and he wanted to put all the attention on other people so that he would just slide by into the next week. She then confronts the guys. Like, what else is she supposed to do? She now has been told that multiple people are there for the wrong reasons, but is not told who they are, what has happened. She has no examples. Tells the guys, if you're not here for me, get out. I've made my intentions. Like, she's very, you know, very upfront about it. And she actually pulls Aaron. So at first I thought that maybe she like thought it was Aaron, maybe because he's the one that brought something to her attention. Like maybe she would think, was he lying? But she actually pulled him because she's like, you know, I trust you. He's like, I literally don't even know. I don't know what he's talking about. There's nothing I can give you. Like there's nobody I have seen that's of concern. And when she goes to talk to Aaron, the guys are like, what is she talking about? Like, who said something to her? Then Carl finally like fesses up and says, yeah, it was me. And they're like, what are you talking about? Who are you concerned about? And he like wouldn't say anything. He's like, well, I'm not gonna like put people on blast here, like in front of everybody. I'm gonna give them the chance to like fess up. Like, come on, you know who you are. Like, clearly you don't even know who you're talking about. Even if somebody was there for the wrong intentions, you think they're gonna then sit there and be like, yeah, it's me. Me over here. I'm here for fame. No. And then he says something about how there's like rumors circulating. Like, if there's rumors, they're coming from somebody else. So if nobody else has said anything, then you just are making yourself look stupid. I hope she doesn't keep him. We didn't see who goes home. A lot of the time, the troublemakers seem to skate by. I hope she sends him home, but I personally don't think she's going to, because then all the troublemakers will be off the show. We did get a preview for next week. It looks very dramatic. But Thomas, one of my favorite guys, people are questioning his intentions. Like, in the preview, she says it's him against the whole house, and I think she's talking about him. I do think that's what it's going to be about, but there is a scene where guys say, you know, so you're telling me that the thought has never crossed your mind that you could be the next Bachelor. And he says, well, I'm not going to lie, yeah, it has. So that is a little bit concerning, but at the same time, that could be taken out of context. And hopefully that's not the case, because he is like one of my faves. It was a really good one. I really enjoyed the episode. I felt like there was quite a bit that went on. And I think it's going to be such a good season. Okay, I'm going to make a final guess. I think Greg is going to win. It was going to be between him and Thomas. But now that this whole drama situation is in the preview, I do think that it's going to be Greg. I do hope that it's true, because I do really like him. And I think he is one of the most genuine. He seems the most, like, one of the most down to earth. There's quite a few other guys that I like. Like, I like him. I like Andrew S. Trey. I like Thomas, but maybe not after next week. What do you guys think? Comment below who your favorites are. I want to know who you guys liked. I am very excited for the upcoming episodes. So I encourage you guys to watch The Bachelorette, sorry, on Monday, and then come and watch my next episode of Get Ready With Me in TV, Bachelorette Edition, next Thursday. Hit the thumbs up button down below if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're interested in more from me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to guess what this look is inspired by. What is the theme of this palette? Was there a similar theme going on with today's episode? I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.